Okay.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Mosaic Podcast. Today's story is unbelievable. There are moments in time where you think life is going a certain way, and suddenly in a moment or 2 moments or 6 months, everything in the world changes. In a world where nothing is as it seems, like the Mosaic tells us, Courtney's life is such an amazing example of that simple, basic thought. Her story, I think, will amaze you. I think her story will horrify you. I think her story will inspire you. And the beautiful part of her story is it's not even close to over. It's just beginning. So I want to introduce Courtney right now. And she's here. I want to say hi, and then I want to read your bio and tell people a little bit about it. Okay. Hey, Courtney, how you doing?
Hi, I'm good. I swear that I'm already about to start crying. So this will be good to talk about.
Okay. Well, we were initially going to do this interview about a week ago when you were in Guatemala backpacking by yourself.
Yes.
Right. But the only reason we couldn't do it is the Wi-Fi wasn't good. Right. So that we got a little, and then there were all sorts of nature animals and things like that around you. So let me take a moment before we get started, because I just want people to hear your bio, your sort of story. Courtney Runyun is a writer and a world traveler who inspires hundreds of thousands of people. And that hasn't even started yet. Through social media. Her mission is to help people find strength, gratitude, and the faith they need to overcome chronic stress by letting go of the small stuff, appreciating the good things in life, and taking nothing for granted. After Courtney took a sabbatical from her corporate career to travel solo through 27 countries around the world, her beloved globe-trotting was interrupted as she mysteriously lost the ability to move her arms and legs. On December 20th, 2017, so we're talking about a year and a half ago,
Yeah.
Courtney was discharged from the hospital, paralyzed from the neck down. She was having difficulty breathing, speaking, swallowing, and the doctors told her there was nothing else they could do. Courtney's decision to stay optimistic in the face of tragedy was the difference between walking figuratively and literally towards a better life and suffering in the one that she was given. After going from living her best life to living in a wheelchair, Courtney has mastered the art of seeing the good through the bad, having a zest for all walks and roles of life, and truly understanding the crippling importance of managing stress. She's been featured on television stations. Her story won an Emmy in 2018. She's training now for a 500-mile hike across northern Spain and raising money for others who can't walk. She's returned to her backpacking solo around the world despite being legally handicapped. And she's writing a book about the 26 secrets to staying positive, happy, and hopeful when life as you know it falls apart. She has all the accolades of someone who's studied and has achieved. She has all the abilities of someone who is at the peak of their career. But I'm telling you right now, and I'm a little bit prophetic, her life hasn't even started yet. It's about to start in these days now. Courtney, what an honor and a privilege to have you here with us, and for me even to just call you my friend.
The honor is all mine. You're just such a beautiful person, beautiful man, and I love what you want to do for the world.
Thank you so much. Let's get into it. I mean, before we get into your story, let's sort of paint the backstory a little bit of who you were, what you were doing, and as a kid, what did you always want to do when you were grown up? What do you want to be?
Gosh, I don't know that I had a specific thing. Like I wasn't dreaming of one day being a teacher or anything like that, but I will say I just had such a great all-American upbringing. I mean, my parents are still married, and I was one of the captains of the cheerleading squad, and I did swim team. And I was truly brought up to do the All-American dream, go down that path. And I made really good grades, and I went to University of Oklahoma, and I got a wonderful first career type of job right after college. And I had a good boyfriend, and I thought I was doing all the right things. And then it didn't feel right. Something didn't feel right. So I ended up quitting my career that I worked really hard for. I mean, I was the first female in the country to go through the training program out of thousands of people that I did. But yeah, so I quit my career, sold everything I owned, sold my truck, and went backpacking around the world for a year. And I thought that was going to be my big life-changing turning point. But little did I know what was a few years ahead from that.
So let's pause for a minute, because I so actively want to get to your story. But what happened in that period of time? What happened to go from that sort of beautiful all-American life, everything seemed like it was falling into place, to make you decide to sell everything you had, get your backpack on, become a nomad, and travel around to what it turned out to be, 27 countries?
Yeah. It was 27 countries on 6 continents over a 1-year time. It was incredible. Gosh, I did so much of what I had learned was supposed to be best for me, instead of maybe listening to what I instinctively was drawn to. And so one day I just got on Google and Google top 10 things to do before you die. And Carnival in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil came up on all of them. I'd never left North America before. So I was like, I'm going to South America and see what happens. And I met these people backpacking through South America, and this was a very life-changing conversation that I had. I mean, it changed my whole life. Just this couple sentences. I'm talking to this guy, Dan, and he had been traveling through South America for 6 months. And I just looked at him and I said, gosh, I wish I could do that.
Wow.
And he looked at me and he said, well, why can't you? And that was it. That was when I realized technically I could, and technically you can do anything you want with your life. And so I did. So that was kind of the turning point.
So if I were reading your story right now in a book, I would take out my yellow highlighter and I would underline that line, because it seems like it's going to come back to play a little bit in the rest of the story that we tell.
It does.
Okay. But for now, let's just continue turning the pages. Okay. And so you decided to, what did your parents say? What did your family say? Because here you were in this most prestigious program, first woman to graduate. And all of a sudden now you're in Carnival, and you're spending your time in South America, traveling around. What did they say? Were they thrilled with that? Were they pissed at that? What do they?
Oh my God, my mom cried. It was in 2012 is when I quit my job to go travel. And she said, and I did very well. I was 28 years old at the time, doing well. And my mom cried. She said, we're in the middle of a recession. People are losing their jobs, and you're voluntarily quitting yours to go all these dangerous places and, do who knows what. And she just didn't think that was a good idea.
So did they withdraw support? Did they stop talking to you? Did they just say, we just disagree with you, but we love you? How was that? How was that for you?
Yeah, my mom tried to get me to not do it, but that was in 2012. That's the last time she's tried to force my way one way or the other. My dad was pretty okay with it. He trusted that I was just doing what made me happy. But yeah, my mom, being a mom, right, and my family's amazing, she just gets worried for my safety, and still does.
Totally. But it's so natural. I mean, a parent seeing their child seemingly having everything that they dreamed of for themselves, doing now something. And so one of the things that I write about in my book, The Mosaic, is the fact that one connection, one conversation, one thought has the potential to open up a whole new world for us.
Yeah.
And it seems like that's exactly what happened with this guy, Dan.
Yes.
And this moment where suddenly you saw, I don't have to do what I've been always doing. Because when he said to you, well, why can't you? What was the
Yeah.
process? What was the process for you? Because I'm sure there are people listening that feel a little stuck in their life, but don't
Yeah.
feel they have that liberty to go ahead and just do that.
Oh my gosh. It was just years of social norms and social conditioning, just like shattering right in that conversation. When he said, why can't you? And my response in my head instinctively was just because I can't. And it
Yeah.
was like, but why? And I started sitting there thinking, and I was like, well, I mean, technically I do have some savings, and technically, like, it's not like anyone at home that any of my loved ones are sick. And, technically I guess like I could, but I can't, but I can. You can go so many different directions. And it's just learning a new perspective. A lot of times it's like, you want to change your life and you want to shake things up and you feel stuck or you feel unhappy or you feel like you don't know where to go with your life. You don't know what your purpose is. Everything's just so confusing. But really it's sometimes you don't necessarily need to make some big change to change your life. You just need to change the way you think about your life or change your perspective of your life, which I think is what you're saying, Daniel, is like you meet that one person, have that one conversation, or have that one thing that changes the way you look at something, and then your world is instantly different.
Yeah. And in your case, like what I'm trying to capture is, if you can, what happened from that moment where you said, I can't do that? I mean, it's just not in my DNA to just leave what I'm doing, leave this program, leave the life that I've been living, to that moment where you said, oh God, I can do that. What was the shift and what was the connection that happened in that moment that moved you from I can't to I can?
uh I guess just having someone sitting in front of me that has done it, kind of opened my eyes some, asking me that question of why can't you do it? And he wasn't trying to be sarcastic or anything. I think he was expecting me to be like, oh, well, my mom, this or that, but, she's sick or something like that. But no, I guess it was just the moment of asking myself what, answering that question myself, just why can't I? And realizing I didn't have a good answer to that question.
So what I'm hearing, and I think this happens all the time for us in life, is that suddenly when a moment in time opens and a door suddenly opens and we say we can't, somehow when there's somebody on the other side that just, he wasn't even pushing you to say, well, come on, you can do it, right? It wasn't like he was
No.
forcing you. He just offered the possibility of why can't you? And it's
Yeah.
almost as if a door opens and you can walk through that door. And one of the things that I say in the mosaic is we are one piece away from a whole new life by just the door. Every moment of our life, doors open for us. And whether we walk through them or not is our choice. We can choose, and there's no better or worse. There's no judgment on it. But sometimes when we walk through that door, everything changes.
Yeah.
So now suddenly you've walked through that door. Now
Yeah.
you made that decision. Oh my God, I'm going to just travel. And then what happened? How did life look then?
Oh, it was amazing. Started living for myself instead of, you know, I had to unlearn who I was to find who I was.
Yeah. Hold it. Stop.
And
Pause there. Pause there, because I know what you're saying, but I want you to explain that a minute, because that's such a profound statement in its
yeah,
simplicity. I had to stop. I had to learn who I was to find who I was.
yeah, I had to unlearn who I was to learn who I really was. And there was so much of what I was doing up until that point that I wasn't doing because of I consciously made those decisions, but I made the decision of where to go to school and what to study and where to work and what to do and where to live. based on recommendations that were external and learned, learned behavior, learned choices. And it wasn't until I had that conversation with Dan, sweet Dan, that I started looking internally for the answers and self-exploration and deciding what was right for me because of how it made me feel and what excited me and what made me feel alive and what made me love who I was and what made me excited to get up that day because it felt good to me. And realizing that can really be your North Star and your decision maker more so than what you've learned is right and wrong. I trust my heart. I think I'm an okay person. So if I'm drawn to something, I just have to trust and have faith in myself that it's a good decision for me and, live with good intention and follow my heart, follow my own path to figure out what's the right way to live for me, which is different for everyone.
Yes, and another person confronting that same situation might have just said, "No, I can't. I can't do that." So it isn't that anybody has the key to every door for you, but what you seem to be saying is within us. If we sit and take the time to get to know ourselves, we have answers within us that will guide us. Is that
Yeah.
sort of what you're saying?
Yeah. And letting go of the need of approval, because the
Wow.
only approval that you need is your own. And it's funny because what I've noticed is the more okay I am with myself and my choices, the more okay those around me are. And it seems like when things get misaligned in your life, it's because you're putting more emphasis on needing the approval of your peer group or the people around you more so than your own. And things become misaligned because the people that love you and care and the people that matter, they are the most okay with what you're okay with
Yeah.
and what makes you the most happy.
Beautiful. So for someone who's hearing this and saying, "Oh my God, I love what I'm hearing, but I am petrified to do that. I'm just scared to do that." What would you say to them to how would you help them to ease their fear? Because I don't know about you, but the world I see, we have a lot of people doing things that the world has said is what we should do. There aren't a lot of people that I know, and I'm an old man now. I'm 64, right? I've seen a lot of people. Uh, I see a lot of people getting what they look to find, and most of them have looked to find a career and money and the perfect looking woman and the picket fence and all of those things, and they found that.
Yeah.
They haven't necessarily found peace and joy and contentment. They haven't found fulfillment necessarily. Some of them have. It's not
Yeah.
like a black or white. But it feels to me like most people don't take the time to actually know themselves very well. They get caught up in the routine of what the world wants them to do, of what they think they should do. They end up doing maybe what you did before, which seems perfectly normal. Like
Yeah.
you were living a good life. It wasn't like you had an unhappy life. It
Yeah.
just,
No.
it just all of a sudden when that door opened for you, it wasn't necessarily your life. It was somebody else's life. So how would you say to somebody, it's okay, take that moment and get to know what you actually want in a situation?
Hmm. Well, I'll give you the approval. If you're needing approval to just make a decision for yourself, I think I'm on your side. I'll give you the approval.
Such a
I'll tell
sweet
you it's
answer.
okay. But um no, I don't know. It's like we only make change we only change when we get into a situation where changing's better than the pain that
Hmm.
we're in, or you make changes because the change is, more fun or more happy than the situation you're in. And both of those are good things. I mean, that doesn't really help you get over the hump of fear, but I don't know.
So
you can start small.
Yeah. But I mean, like when you look at your life, none of what you did was starting small. You were there and all of a sudden someone said something and you said, I can't. And they said, why not? And you said, well, maybe I can. And then you did it.
But I did start small because I started with a Google search. I just Googled top 10 things to do before you die. And I thought,
Gotcha.
I'm going to pick something off of this list and I'm just going to go do it, because if I just keep waking up every day and going to the same job and then going to dinner with the same people and doing the same thing every day, I'm going to get the same results. I mean, that makes perfect logical sense. And
Totally.
the idea of doing the same thing over and over again, the rest of my life, exactly the same every single day, was maddening to me.
Yeah.
And that was scary to me. That is a fear.
So
Go ahead.
did that start to repeat itself? You were traveling for like about a year. Was that happening? Or is it a year's period of time? And did that become the new routine, or was that just incredibly exciting and meeting new people and seeing new places? How was that for you?
That was pretty cool. It never got old. It's still not old to me. Traveling, and just there's something about walking into a new city I've never been to before, that even like the mundane whole, like, broken down gas station is just magical to me. And
Yeah.
I just love the feeling of walking in a new city. But I know that about myself, and I found that in everybody has something different, that, maybe it's music, maybe it's writing, maybe it's, a lot of things that just make you light up. And
Totally.
yeah.
And so let's move now towards that moment where life changed again for you.
Yeah.
Like, how did that start to set in? Suddenly you're traveling around, you're having the time of your life, you're going into new cities, new people, new locations, enjoying every single moment. You're a nomad, you got a backpack, you got no responsibilities, you're having the time of your life.
Yeah.
And bam, what happens?
Yeah. I just became so fiercely independent. In fact, that was my friend called me that one day. He was like, "You're just fiercely independent." And I went traveling, and I was like, I will never not live my life to the fullest. And I made that promise to myself in 2012. I said, I will always live my life to the fullest, to the best of my ability. And, I'm just going to keep seeing the world. So I ended up meeting a guy. I fell madly in love, the kind of like earth shattering, life changing love. And it was the most pure love. And so I moved to Las Vegas for him, and was living such a great life. And then my thumb got numb, and then my leg got numb, and then I couldn't pick up my suitcases easy. And I just thought I was just like getting really old all of a sudden. And then I went to the doctor, and then a neurologist, and then months went by, and I was getting weaker and weaker and weaker, and no one knew what was wrong. They thought I had MS. Then they thought I had ALS. That's a scary thing whenever you're getting referred to a neuromuscular neurologist and you Google neuromuscular doctor on your phone and it says ALS all over.
Wow.
Up and down the page. That was a stomach, heart falling in stomach moment. But yeah, so I just got weaker and weaker and weaker. And then I finally got diagnosed by the Mayo Clinic in September of 2017 with something called CIDP, which stands for chronic inflammatory demyelinating polyneuropathy. And I thought, okay, like we're good. Like I got a diagnosis. My arms are paralyzed at this point completely. I was still walking. It was like an ugly swagger, but I was still walking. And I said, okay, like that, we figured out what this is, and it's up from here. This is the bottom, and it was not the bottom.
Wow.
Yes.
And so I'm still reeling, and I've heard the story already a couple of times. I'm still
Yeah.
reeling hearing it again. Did something happen to bring it on? Did it just happen out of the blue? Was it just a moment? Like, what happened that all of a sudden this sort of took hold?
Yes. So, you know, yeah, treatment did not work, and I ended up paralyzed from the neck down. But rewind to the beginning. Um, it was triggered by stress and not listening to that inner voice in my head. And I had 3 stressful triggers. And what's interesting is, like I know stress kills, and I know that our negative emotions and negative patterns can certainly make us sick. But the thing is, I was happy.
Yeah.
And I lived a healthy lifestyle. I was green smoothies in the morning, detox teas with my lemon and cayenne pepper. I went for 8-mile walks, run walks a few times a week. I did yoga. I meditated every morning. I had the great friends, great family. I mean, I really was like, okay, when it comes to life, I've got this figured out. I have this down. Like, I had a good career. I liked the people I worked with. I was just like, I know what I'm doing. I will never get sick. I got this. But you can be happy and stressed out of your mind and not even know how stressed you are because you're internalizing it, or you're so used to it you don't even know what it's doing.
So again, I'm just trying to put myself in the ears of the listeners now, because there's not a person listening that doesn't have stress. And
I know.
and so when I hear this, I think, holy shit, pardon my language. I've got stress. So does that mean tomorrow I could wake up, no matter how happy I am, no matter how much I feel fulfilled, no matter how much I'm doing? Does that mean tomorrow something can happen, that I could wake up tomorrow and I could start to lose control of my hands and my fingers sometimes tingle, And so does that mean that I could lose control of my body from my neck down? Like, was there something more specific than that stress? Because like something's like medically, they have to say something happened. It can't just be you were stressed, you were living a great life, you were happy, you were eating healthy, walking healthy, exercising, doing all the things people say to do, and all of a sudden you had some stress and you went bam.
No, yeah, it was triggered by stress. I had which is not unusual for an autoimmune condition to be triggered by stress. And I mean, I'd have to brush up on my statistics, but people I'm 34 years old now, and in my age group, it's 1 out of 5 people are getting autoimmune now. It's crazy, but they do have lots of theories, because there does need to be something underlying that stress can trigger, but that's not something that they can test for. That could be Epstein-Barr virus, which is the same thing as mono. And I did have mono when I was in high school, and they say that can hibernate and then, show itself later in the form of autoimmune. Lyme disease can be an underlying cause. That's not mine, but that can be one. Vaccinations. There are 7 people I've spoken to with my diagnosis, which my diagnosis is every 1 or 2 people out of 100,000 get it. Very rare. And I'm in, the support groups and stuff. And I've spoken to 7 people that it was triggered by a flu shot or vaccination. So that's another potential cause, not the cause of mine. So there's all kinds of underlying things.
So there's some reason really that we don't know yet, that we haven't quite figured out. The best way we can say is stress, which is sort of a catch-all for whatever we can't quite figure out, right? And now let's fast forward I just want to make sure, because you just slipped it in. Like, I know your story, but all of a sudden it went from your hands and legs going numb, your arms having no movement, you're being able to walk, to now suddenly you are paralyzed from the neck down.
Yeah. Yes, it was crazy. I left the Mayo Clinic. I started medication. I kept getting weaker. So I was admitted into a rehab hospital and then to a nursing home. And I kept getting weaker. And they said, just give the medication time to work. This is the Mayo Clinic saying that. I'm like, I don't know. I'm getting worse and worse. Like the medication doesn't even seem like it's slowing this down. Like this, I had one of the most aggressive cases of my diagnosis in the country. And I refer to it as my diagnosis instead of my sickness, or I don't use the word I have autoimmune. I really disassociate, because it is a diagnosis. It's a name for something happening or a set of symptoms. But anyways, so I had one of the worst, most severe cases of my diagnosis in the country. And it kept getting worse until I ended up back in the hospital in Dallas, Texas. And I was there for 14 days. They didn't even know if they had diagnosed me accurately, because I had gotten so severe. They've not seen that happen to somebody. And they did every kind of treatment they knew how to do. They tested me for cancers. And sorry to be graphic, but just so y'all know how bad it was. I had to have a colonoscopy just to check for to make sure I didn't have anything, kind of cancer in my colon. So try to, I'll let your imagination take control of that when you can't walk.
Wow.
How the night before goes for you.
Wow.
When they give you the
Wow.
the stuff, that nasty
Wow.
pool water tasting stuff. Yeah. I was in a diaper. So they did all these things. They drained blood from me a couple times a day for tests. I was under anesthesia 4 times. And on my last day I was there, I had gone through my bills, found out that my love of my life had been partying while I was sick, and put $40,000 of debt under my name. So that was added stress. And then right after kind of figuring that out, the doctors come in. I'm having trouble breathing, swallowing, and talking, because my throat is also partially paralyzed. And they say, I'm sorry, all of these treatments should have worked by now. There's nothing else that we can do. And I'm sorry, you have to go home.
Oh my God.
So that was December 20th of just 2017.
So during this time, because like anybody who's watching can see how positive a person you are, and how you don't let your situations define you. But what was your frame of mind during all this time, as you were just getting worse and worse and worse, and medicine wasn't working, and they couldn't tell you what you had, because we look to them as the great white hope, and
Yeah.
because they got to understand, right? And then they don't know, and what they're doing isn't helping. What is your frame of mind at that point in time?
I know. Well, to be honest, at that point, I'm also an alternative, tree-hugging, hippie little girl. And I had done everything under the sun. I mean, that's one of those things, is when you're not sick and you meet somebody that's going through something, you want to be like, well, have you tried this? Have you tried this? Yes, I've tried it.
Right.
I have tried everything.
And when you're sick, you definitely don't want to hear, have you tried? Have you tried it?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just answer anyone that's wondering or thinking, I wonder if she's tried this. Yes, I've tried it. Tried everything. So at this point, I was like, well, why would any of those treatments work? Nothing else could work. But that wasn't the primary mindset. It's just, it didn't break me. But, I've gotten asked a lot. Oh, go ahead.
Time out 1 minute. Where is the reservoir of strength that you had inside you to not allow that to break you? Because love. I can imagine, say it again.
Love.
So
much love.
Wow.
I had so much love for myself, but so much love for my life, because, I love my life even from that hospital bed. I loved my life even though I was choking on liquids and couldn't talk. Like, I couldn't even hug anyone. I couldn't give someone I loved a hug because I couldn't move my arms. But I loved the fact that I was alive. And it's funny because, not funny, but they say comparison is the thief of joy. Well, I think sometimes it can be a gift of joy, because people would look at me and be like, well, I have problems, but at least I don't have her problems. At least I'm not her. And I can appreciate that. And if nothing else from my story, if I can't communicate some of the things I'm about to communicate for the rest of this. I feel like we're getting through the backstory, but we're about to get into like the really good stuff.
Totally.
The stuff that I really want to say. But it's like, you know, that when people do that, at least I'm not her. It doesn't resonate with me because, and if people take nothing else but that to make their life better, great. But I love that I'm me, and I love that I have my life, and I'm not mad that, you know, I lost my house and my car and my boyfriend and tons of money and the ability, you know, I couldn't go to the bathroom by myself for a year. I, you know, couldn't do all of these things. I couldn't do anything, but I still am so happy that I have my life, and I'm so happy that I'm who I am. And I think that they say autoimmune is not genetic, which means everything I did in my life contributed to where I am right now in my autoimmune. And there is just nothing that I would change.
Wow.
Because I loved everything that I've done. And I still love this autoimmune. And this has been a really cool human experience. You know, I just like my job, I didn't want to do the same thing every day the rest of my life. I don't need to have the perfect day every day the rest of my life. That's the same perfect day. Like I want to feel alive. I want to feel all of the emotions that we are allowed to, and we get to feel and have all these different cool experiences, even flopping around in a hospital bed or in a wheelchair. Like I wore costumes in the nursing home. It was a blast. But this, when I was at my worst, I'm going back to the love thing. It's like, I saw the most beautiful side of humanity. Strangers, my friends, the nurses, like my family, especially. I saw, and I still see the most beautiful, like you guys listening, all of you are beautiful people, beautiful. And everybody really genuinely wants to help each other. And if you're sitting in your car, your office or whatever, like I know that you feel so happy when you help other people, and you can give love and receive love. And that makes you really a special person. Like all this other crap and bullshit and stuff, it's so external, but like who you are, like deep in there, is such a beautiful, beautiful soul. And yeah, just the fact that you can give and receive love, is just really an incredible thing. And I got to give and receive a lot of love, more receive, in that time period.
Well, you might think more receive, but I can even just feel from the words that you're saying how much love you're giving to people right now. And that love is so contagious and so intoxicating and so powerful, because it's a love that most people have no idea how to have. We've forgotten how to feel. And for you to go through what most people would say is the worst possible life available, and for you
Yeah.
to fall in love with that life and to love it
Yeah.
is just I'm sure people are sitting here wondering if it's real, but I'm looking at you and listening to you and seeing you and hearing the vibration of your words, and you can feel how real it is. You don't have to ask if it's real. And
I mean,
so let me just let's fill in some of the pieces, and then I want to get to where we are today. So you're told, go home, nothing more we can do for you. Right? Yeah. You're paralyzed from the neck down.
Oh, yes.
How in the world do you get from that place to where you are now?
Yeah.
And to where you were a week ago, which was that the first trip since this happened to Guatemala?
Yeah.
On your own?
Yeah, I went to Guatemala. I just got back 2 days ago, and I was there for 21 days. And it was an important trip, because it was my first time to go out there back in the world that I love so much, and go backpack, put my backpack on that had its dust on it from when I was just out there before. And I proudly put it on, and I got to go backpacking for the first time since being so paralyzed. And I was by myself, and I needed help, but
And I remember when we spoke and you said, and I needed help, and you said, I still need help. And I'm, you know, and I looked at you and I said, yeah, like, so do I.
I know. I loved that.
Because all of us need help. But
Yeah.
how did that happen? Like, I want to be able to post that video underneath, the link to the video that I saw when
Yeah.
you were introduced to me, of just
Yes.
the year of intense rehabilitation that you went through. But
Yeah.
how did that did you ever imagine when you were sitting in that chair? Did you ever imagine before that you would be sitting in a chair paralyzed from the neck down? And did you ever imagine that when you were paralyzed from the neck down, you would be doing what you're doing now?
I knew when I was paralyzed from the neck down, I'd be doing what I'd be doing now, and some. I knew. I had no doubt in my mind, and I had just a unshakable faith in myself, because I do love my life, and there's so much I wanted to do, and there's so much to live for. But I also was very careful, and this has been always really important to me. I was always very careful that I didn't try to get through this to get my life back.
Wow.
Because I had my life, I have my life. And until I die, every day that goes by, I have my life right then. There's no getting back to it or getting through something to get to your life. No, every day you have your life. Every day you have a reason to be happy. Every day you can feel something and do something and be someone every day. And there are things that are really special about my time being paralyzed that I can't do when I'm walking. Like, I need to take advantage of those things then, like spending so much one-on-one quality time with my family, and like showing people and showing myself and teaching other people that you can still be happy paralyzed.
Wow.
So like that was important to me too. And I can tell people what happened and show videos, but there was nothing like sitting in that wheelchair, smiling at people and seeing how good it felt. There was nothing like being rolling around in that nursing home in a wheelchair with a green wig on, and like I had a fanny pack that had speakers and played music. There was nothing like rolling through the nursing home, laughing with a wig on, and seeing people's reaction and breaking the mold of, hey, I'm in a wheelchair right now, paralyzed out of my mind, in pain, but I'm laughing my ass off, having a great time because I want to, and being happy feels better. And so I can't, when you're walking, like I was able to get through to people in that nursing home or through social media or whatever, from that chair, than a way that I can't walking. Wow. Anyways, it's just like, my point is every stage of life, you have the unique gift to do something right at that moment that you can't in a different situation.
Yeah.
Anyways, so
I love, for 1 minute, in my book, The Mosaic, one of the characters is a character called the Traveler. And I just put it together while you were talking, that the Traveler is you. And the Traveler meets Mo, who's the main character. And he's looking to find heaven. And she says, I can help you find heaven. And he gets a little freaked out by her. And so he tries to increase his step to get away from her. And as he increases his step, she increases her step. And they're walking. And so he thinks, okay, I'm just going to slow down. And he slows down and she slows down. And they're walking in perfect synchronicity with each other. And he says, how are you doing that? How are you walking like I walk? And she said, Mo, in everything in life, there's three things. And if you understand that there are three things that happen in every single aspect of life, that's the most important thing you can ever understand. Do you know what those three things are? And he said, I don't know. No, I don't know. And I've asked hundreds of people. Most of them have no idea. They get all metaphysical. What do you think? What do you think the three things are in life that are always there in every single situation?
Love,
Okay.
really.
Surprise, surprise coming from you. I love that. I love that.
uh,
It's much simpler. Let me do it. It's much simpler. And when you hear it, you're going to go, oh, come on, that's just stupid. But everything has a beginning, a middle, and an end.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what happens is most of the time we want to begin a new chapter. We want to begin something new, or we want this thing to end. And we work like I'm the perfect example. I'm a great beginner and a great ender. I hate the middle. I've always hated the middle. I always see what's happening at the end, and I want to get there as soon as I possibly can, because I think like I already see it. I want to have it. But as I listen to you speak, you've enjoyed the middle.
Have to.
You've enjoyed the moments that make up your life, which is the middle of your life, which is such a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I want to thank you for just touching me to take a moment so that I can get to enjoy that middle. And so when I think about it, everything has a beginning and a middle end. What you're doing now will have an end to it too. There will be a new beginning, because at the end allows a new beginning. So as we're winding down, let me just ask you, where do you see life going now? Because like I could talk to you forever, and we probably have to have you back to continue going. But where do you see life from where you are now? Where do you see, what is it you want to do? What is it that you think all this is for? What is it you feel like your purpose is? Or do you feel that? Or are you just right here, just enjoying what is here right now?
Well, I think that this situation that I've been, or this opportunity I've been given, is an opportunity to show that these little things that we get stressed out about all the time, because my condition was triggered by these little things that I see so many people so worried about. And it just seems like all consuming, that these little things aren't what make up your life. They're not things that should be so stressful. And I had something traumatic happen to me, and I'm excited to show that, even when life falls apart, that you still can be so happy and do something so wonderful, and you can still go to Guatemala when you're legally disabled and need help with your hair from strangers on the cobblestone streets. Yes. And you can still find joy in anything, in the chaos, and you can find peace in the little things as well.
Love that. So I'm assuming that you've already answered this question by what you just said, but I'm going to give you a chance to just say it. If that's the case, just say I already answered it by what I just said. But I always ask to close up 2 questions. The first one is, out of all the things that you've been given, out of all life has shown you, out of everything that you've experienced, if you had a chance to say one thing to the world without anger, which you don't have any of, but by a world that would listen without any judgment, what is it you would wish to give them? What is the one thing you would want to say to them?
Well, I love the idea of, make every day the best day of your life. Just, I love that, the concept of that. Just life gets, and some of the best days of our life haven't happened yet. I love that just idea and that way of life and that way of thinking. But I don't know. That's a good question.
Okay. And the final question has an add-on to it, which is, when you look at the world that we're living in now, and I know we've made advances, and I know we've had all sorts, we've come a long way. But when you look at the world we live in now, is this the world that you always dreamed of handing over to the next generation?
I think that human beings and the world is always going to be flawed. And I think that there's just a lot of really good people out in the world that are working so hard to make it a better place. And I would want to introduce those people to the next generation of people I care about.
Yeah. And so if you could introduce those people and share something with the people that you would like to have get something from them, what would be the thing that you would want to introduce? What would be the thing that would take this world with all its chaos, with all its disagreement, with all its turmoil? What would be the one thing that you would like to share with people to help bring that new world in?
What would be the one thing that I would want to introduce people to bring a better world in?
Yeah. Which is what I believe you've already said and you're already doing over and over again, but I want to hear you say it.
I just think love and acceptance. I mean, that's what everyone, and understanding, everyone is craving to be loved and accepted and understood. And I think that's the base of anything I'd want to introduce anybody to.
I love that. I want to just summarize a little bit what I heard today for the people that are listening. And then I also want to thank you so much for being here with us. I definitely want to have you back. I definitely want to continue offline having conversations. I want to be involved in your journey. I want you to be involved in the journey of the mosaic, because your life is such a beautiful example. What I take from this hour that we spent together, and that I hope other people will take whatever they take from it, it doesn't have to be what I've taken, is that in the midst of the most trying of circumstances, the perspective that people bring to those perspectives changes everything. It's like Viktor Frankl said in A Man's Search for Meaning, that in the midst of the Holocaust, it wasn't the things that were happening, it was the meaning that he gave the things that were happening. And as I listened to Courtney speak, how is it possible? I know she's speaking the same language that I speak, but there's a part of me that doesn't even understand. How is it possible to feel so much love for the world that you live in and the life that you're living, that when life itself seems to betray you, you can still love it? And I want to just say how I sit here in just such utter gratitude for these moments that we've had together, to tell you how much I love you, how much I support you, how much you've changed me in just these moments. And I hope how much you've changed the world around you, because these moments where we have real adversity, where you see somebody who's gone through, she was a quadriplegic, for God's sake, but she never gave up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's different than just, having a hangnail, or your hair doesn't look good that day, or you're too fat like me. It's just, those are big things. And so take the time to just love the life that you're living. Take the time to really listen to this podcast over and over and over again, and just hear what Courtney's saying, and love like Courtney's loving. I mean, what a beautiful world we would live in if that were the case. Courtney, if people want to get in touch with you, and I can't believe they wouldn't, are you allowing people to get in touch with you?
Oh yeah, I talk to people every day that are going through similar things and not so similar things. So
okay, if they want you to speak for them, if they want you to come and do you coach people? Do you have what is it that you do to help people right now? Are you set up in any of those capacities?
yes, I am doing speaking, which I'm super stoked about. And
Right.
I mean, we've kind of told my story, but there's just so much more to it. What actually got me back on my feet, we didn't even touch on. I am walking now and getting stronger every day still. But I would love the opportunity to get in front of anybody and hopefully give a new perspective and help give people some strength.
Yes.
I think that's something that I've not even purposely intentionally done, but that just seems to be what people have told me I've helped them with is given them the strength that they need inside to find more love on the inside and outside, and more strength to get through.
1,000,000,000% you're doing that. So
That's a pretty big number.
It's a bigger, it's the only number I can come up with. I would make it bigger if I knew what to say after 1,000,000,000. If people want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Yes.
And we'll link it in, but how do they do that?
Yeah, my website is www.courtneylyrunyon.com, and same with my Facebook, but it's Courtney, Courtney, and then Lee and Runyon.
Okay, and we'll list that in the show notes below when we post it, and that's and we'll list your Facebook links and all and that stuff. And
yeah, you can send me a Facebook message or shoot me an email or whatever.
Fabulous. I can't encourage you enough to continue the listeners to continue this dialogue with Courtney, to get to know her. There is something about her, and I hope you felt it, that literally sees life differently than we see life. From the experiences that she had, from the joy that she had, from the love that was deep inside her, she looks at adversity in a different way than we do. And for anybody who is troubled by things going on in their life, get in touch with her, work with her, get her out speaking in front of whatever group you're a part of, your business, your organization, whatever it is. Get her out there to speak in front of you, for you, because I think she's going to transform lives. Thank you again.
Yes, thank you so much.
I interrupted you. What did you want to say?
Oh, that's how the world works. We're all changing each other's lives.
Yes, we are.
You changing people's lives too. So thank you.
Thank you. My honor. Thank you again for being on. Until next time, we invite you to come back and hear more. We'll have you back again, Courtney. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Ciao.